What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. It appears that our Supreme Court is absolutely pathetic. I mean, it is beyond pathetic at this point. If you didn't know, uh, the Supreme Court, I think yesterday, finally weighed in on the mail-in ballot executive order from Donald Trump and his administration, and they wind up favoring. You heard that they wind up favoring the Trump administration on this executive order, and it's absolutely pathetic, absolutely pathetic. So if you didn't know, like, okay, Trump has attempted a few times here, or at trying to along with everything else that they're trying to do to basically control and take over these elections. One of the last executive orders that he did was basically trying to. It was kind of twofold. A part of it was trying to criminalize anybody who was found to be committing voter fraud, and also criminalize anybody knowingly allowing someone to commit voter fraud. So it could not only criminalize and cause penalties towards someone actually committing voter fraud, but anyone who is suspected or possibly quote unquote allowing the person to commit voter fraud. So you're potentially putting people that are election officials and stuff like that, whether they were knowingly or unknown, it's putting them at risk of potential investigations and stuff like that into whether or not which could even if they're found, clear and not guilty of even knowing, it still puts a bad taste in the mouths of those around that local area that, oh, this person was investigated and blah, 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 blah. Anyway. But even more important part was the idea that they were trying to, because they've attempted, as we know, to have all the states, send in voter registration information, right? And you've had many states deny that. You, of course, had quite a few that, gave them over willingly. Mostly all the red states. Just like, here, yes, of course, have our voter registration stuff because, you're our daddy and we do whatever you tell us to. Even though clearly it's unconstitutional to even ask for this. Because elections are supposed to be controlled and processed by the states. All right, federal government. Yes, there's federal guidelines, as in the states have to stay within these minimal guidelines of an election, but ultimately all the rules, all the way of state functions and runs their elections is up to that state. And the idea of any of those guidelines from the federal sense is to make sure that there is no disenfranchisement of voters. It's supposed to be in the way of making sure that voters are getting and having open right to vote, not the other way around. But in this case, Trump has been, requesting voter information so that they can try to cut people from the voting rolls. And we've seen this in the red states as they've received these lists back, and there were people that were removed that shouldn't have been removed. And anyway, there's been litigation over that. There's 30 cases from all the Democratic states, democratically ran states. Anyways, and they've lost every one of those so far. There's 23 out of the 30 that's been litigated. Every one of them the federal government has lost. The lower courts and stuff have pushed it out, unconstitutional, wrong, no legitimacy, blah, 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 blah. Well, this executive order because they were losing all of that, this executive order was trying to attempt to create a means through the USPS, the United States Postal Service, around guidelines of mail-in ballots, and having the USPS create these rules around what is legitimate for a mail-in ballot, and whether or not, if it didn't meet this certain criteria and these rules, then they would not be processed through as far as the mail is concerned, and that the states had to give over voter information to USPS, which is wild, so that they can verify names to addresses, make sure that, the proper people are getting them, or people that are, shouldn't be getting them, as if you're like using official addresses for verification of somebody, receiving something or not. And then, and also rules around, how the mail-in ballot envelope is like, shaped, ID bars, all these kinds of different things. And this was lawsuits were immediately brought by, again, all the Democratic states, plus the District of Columbia, and there's other like nonprofit organizations and things like that have also brought lawsuits around it. And this had been done, litigated out by the lower courts already twice, and found that it was, unconstitutional, and it basically barred it. It couldn't, and was restricting the administration and this executive order from being put forward. And because of that, the DOJ then turns around and goes to the Supreme Court and says, look, let's not even concern ourselves with whether or not it's this constitutional or not. That's not the argument here. We're not going to try to argue that. What we're going to try to argue is that when this was brought to these lower courts, that, yes, it's requesting the DOJ to do things. It's requesting Homeland Security to do things, and it's requesting the USPS to do things. But that doesn't mean that they are going to. They could very well decide not to. And so the argument that these things are, are as if they are already implemented, and that is a problem, and disenfranchises voters, which is what the lower courts, they were trying to argue, saying the lower courts were saying, we're saying that this doesn't even muster up, because this stuff hasn't actually been put into place. It's just suggestive things. So therefore they shouldn't have the right to ban our executive order, or, prevent it from being enacted, prevent the possibility of these things. So therefore, blah, 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 blah. And the conservative courts go, you know what? Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, cool. No problem. 6 of the 9 judges, all the conservative judges, said, sure, yeah, you're right. These things might not happen. Even though we have all this historical evidence so far of everybody in the administration, anybody under the federal wing, anybody under the executive, willingly being Trump sycophants and yes men and doing everything that he asked. And we've already seen the preparations from the DOJ, the preparations from Homeland Security, them attempting to send people, planning to send people, the 1,000 that we've talked about before, to the, polling places and other stuff. And then as this is all being, looked at from the Supreme Court, we've even recently, just in the past few days, I think it was the end of last week, UPS coming out, USPS, sorry, USPS coming out stating that this ruling they had finished this ruling, these rules, and that they were looking for them to be agreed upon and even potentially put into place by like tomorrow, Wednesday. But yet the Supreme Court, this conservative judges overlooked all of what has happened since it was originally looked at by the lower court, and just like blind. We don't see all this happening over here. We don't see all the things that you were arguing might not happen or actually being implemented or attempted to be implemented. We're not going to look at that. So yes, when it was considered in the lower court before, those things hadn't been implemented, those things hadn't been put into place. So yes, your argument is valid and the executive order can go forward. And then it goes on to state, but if these things actually do, all of these things fall in line and actually do happen, then we can reconvene and look at it again and we will make a judgment on it. Like, okay, so 2 out of the 3 have already, all of these things have been said to have happened. Like they're already in planning. They've already been released that they're in planning. But yet, just because they haven't actually been enacted yet, as of yesterday, there's still room for room for it to not happen. Like, until it actually happens, we're not going to say shit about it. We're not going to stop it. It's like you're literally casting a blind eye to all of the processes that you can literally see happening. They are talking about it. They have the plans in order. And I mean, just because they haven't hit the execute button yet, you're going to say that there's nothing we can do, or there's nothing that we're willing to do. We're not willing to preemptively protect voters from the administration trying to disenfranchise them. We're not going to preemptively. I mean, isn't that kind of the point? Is to make sure that the safeguards are in place for an administration, a federal government, a president to not actively or even attempt, like, there should be the idea is to prevent this outright, not wait till it actually happens and then go, oops, well, let's try to not let that happen again. The conservative justices are pathetic. They're absolutely pathetic. They are openly saying to you, the American voter, the American citizen, that you are not that you are not important enough. That they are not concerned with your protections, your constitutional protections as a voter, your constitutional right as a voter. By the discretions of your locality, of your state, and its laws and what it has created around the federal elections, which is constitutionally placed on them to do, that you are not a concern of theirs to protect and make sure that the federal government does not overreach, that a president does not overreach his means in a way that would disenfranchise you as the voter. It's not concerning enough. We have to actually see him do actually, like, it has to actually happen. You have to actually be disenfranchised before we go, okay, maybe we should not allow this to happen again. Maybe we'll talk about this now. Let's just forget. It is wild to me that the DOJ actually made an argument like, let's not even talk about how the fact that this is unconstitutional. Let's not even litigate whether it's unconstitutional or not. That should be like the main, like that should be the only thing that this is about. If it's unconstitutional, boom, doesn't happen. Period. All of these other arguments that the federal court has taken to the Supreme Court to try to overturn things of precedent or whatever is all been around constitutional arguments. Trying to skirt the Constitution and argue against the Constitution or argue against amendments to the Constitution and argument, around whether or not things are constitutional or not, or whether or not the original fathers meant by what was constitutional or whatever. But in this instance, they go, let's not worry about that. Why? Because they know fucking well it's unconstitutional. And they're still trying to make sure that it gets done. And the Supreme Court is allowing it. You had scathing rebuttals by the three Democratic leaning judges, and rightfully so. And it's pathetic at this point. It's pathetic. We have a president that has basically has everything, has Congress wrapped up in his MAGA bullshit, has whether it's the House and the Senate, he has the Supreme Court. We have all these lower courts. All of these lower courts are holding to the Constitution and holding to law and holding him accountable or attempting to, or protecting American people from the bullshit that the administration do. You have a lower court after lower court after lower court throwing them out over and over and over again, going, no, dog, this ain't gonna fly. No, we're not. It's not gonna work. No. But a Supreme Court that is bought and paid for by this guy, and they've already, given him immunity, do whatever he wants, and now they're basically arguing, you as the voter, you're not concerning enough to us. We're going to let him unconstitutionally disenfranchise you. Or we're going to allow the possibility for it before we're going to actually try to maybe stop them. It's bullshit. Complete bullshit. Complete bull. It's all. This country is ran by absolute evil people. And they show it every day. Willingly so. To completely go against everything that the foundations of this country were supposed to be about, and were supposed to help progress the country. And they are completely going against all that. Upending precedent after precedent after precedent. Just so that they can control, have authoritarian rule, and enrich themselves. fraud, corruption, criminalization. We are being ran by a criminal mob regime. And they're throwing every one of us under the bus. Let me know what you think. If you liked what if you like what we're doing here, please consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. If you check out my other channels as well, that would be amazing. All of that's free, helps out tremendously. You have Patreon there if you want to give and support any further, $2 a month, supporting the channels you like. There's merchandise there. If you're a Patreon member, you get discount on the merchandise. Check it out. If you like it, please get it. That'd be amazing. Any support you give is very much appreciated. And I thank you very much. And if you, are a returner, frequent to the channel, you're freaking amazing. Welcome back. Keep coming back. And again, let me know what you think. And until next time, peace. JMD for ClearTalk. I'm out.